The Nintendo Switch is getting a lot of ports from the Wii U. There are a lot of games that were on the Wii U that Nintendo brought that didn't get a great chance on there because the Wii U was a system that was pretty much dead on arrival. And as sad as that is to say, it is a shame because the Nintendo Wii U had some titles that are definitely worth checking out. So, with all the titles that Nintendo are porting over, it does leave some of the titles on the system that are still on there that I feel like deserve a second chance to reach out to that audience and shine. So we're going to take a look at 10 Wii U games that need to be ported over to the Nintendo Switch. I also do have a list of 10 Wii games that need to be ported over, and 10 GameCube games, just for wishful thinking, that need to be remastered and brought over to the Nintendo Switch. But with that being said, let's hop into number 1 here, and this is Star Fox Zero. Now, I know what you were thinking. Really, Spoons, Star Fox Zero was a piece of garbage, and I will not disagree. I loved the concepts behind Star Fox Zero. I loved what Nintendo was trying to achieve with that. I feel like Nintendo crafted a game that was worth bringing in a new era of Star Fox. But what halted the game from being a great game was its motion controls. The Wii U pad and the gimmick that they surrounded around the Wii U pad is what destroyed that game from having a good chance. That game in itself needed to not have those motion controls, and I think it would have been great. If Nintendo can go back to the drawing board a little bit with it, take out some of those gimmicks, force it around more traditional controls, give the players that flight simulator and a game that's on the mobile go, I feel like Star Fox Zero could reach an entire new audience at this point. I feel like Star Fox Zero would have a chance to actually be the game that it was supposed to be, because the controls would not feel so gimmicky and irritating to try to get your hands on. The Nintendo Switch would be a perfect spot for this game to reach the status that it deserved. But getting rid of those motion controls is a key to making this work, and I feel Star Fox Zero and the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo needs to try and make this game run better, run smoother, and more efficient on the Nintendo Switch. Next game we are going to be talking about is The Wonderful 101. The Wonderful 101 was a wonderful little gem on the Nintendo Wii U that was developed by Platinum Games. Platinum Games and some of the other studio members went off to kind of create the studio after the whole thing with Beautiful Joe. So this game, in a way, is kind of a reimagining. I don't even want to say reimagining, it's not really even the right word, but nonetheless, it was kind of inspired by the idea of Beautiful Joe. And what it does is it takes a bunch of different people, makes them heroes, everyday kind of people, puts them into the superhero status, and you kind of go around combat using newly found allies to do specific moves. There's also certain puzzle aspects to it. The game was really fun. I only ever touched the surface of the demo on the Wii U, and I absolutely loved it. So this is definitely a game that I want to see be brought over to the Nintendo Switch. I don't think this is out of the realm of the possibility, because Nintendo has brought over 2 of the other Platinum Games titles that they have the publishing rights to, and that was Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. So I'd like to see Platinum Games and Nintendo work on bringing that out and maybe perhaps make a franchise out of this. It's also been kind of akin to Pikmin. I've heard a lot of comparisons between this and Pikmin. The next game that needs to come out on the Nintendo Switch, that was from the Wii U, was Fatal Frame Maiden of the Black Water. Maiden of the Black Water was the Wii U title that didn't get hardly any attention at all. This was pretty much made digital only over here in America in the first place, and this title alone was a huge file size to download on your Wii U, and a lot of people didn't even have enough hard drive space to go and download this game. Not to mention, it did get some poor sales because the Wii U, at the point of its release, was a dying system. Not a whole lot of people were excited about the Wii U. This game suffered big time and did not get the chance that it deserved. I feel like the Nintendo Switch is a perfect way for Nintendo to push this franchise forward, make yet another exclusive for horror fans to go on. With the success that we're seeing with horror games and that, I think this would be a great way for Nintendo to try to capitalize on that and bring forth some of those players who are looking for a more satisfying, scary experience. And Maiden in the Black Water would be up right that alley. I know there's tons of collectors out there as well who want a physical copy of this game, and I feel like porting that over to the Nintendo Switch would make them happy as well. But this is a franchise that I do want to see continue to come over to the Nintendo Switch because Fatal Frame is just an overlooked franchise as a whole. It is such a great game series that does not get enough praise. It is legitimately scary, legitimately creepy, and a hell of a lot of fun, especially getting a group of friends together to play it. Next game I want to be seen ported over to the Nintendo Wii U is Paper Mario Color Splash. And this is solely for nostalgic factor for me. I have actually yet to touch Color Splash. I have heard good things about it, but I absolutely love the Paper Mario franchise. I adored all the games that Nintendo has released for the franchise, and the fact that this came out towards the end of the Wii U cycle, and I did not own a Wii U because I had to sell it for money there, and I didn't get a chance to pick up this game. So this is definitely a game that I want to see brought over. Nintendo to kind of set up the franchise on the Nintendo Switch, carry forward with it on the Nintendo Switch, and just make new games. And I feel like a perfect way to get people involved in that game would be to port over the wonderful Wii U title that a lot of people did seem to enjoy. So let's hop into the next one here, and this is Pikmin 3. Pikmin 3 is another game on the Wii U that deserves a second chance. Pikmin is a franchise that has been very popular with Nintendo since the GameCube era. We've seen the likes of Pikmin and Pikmin 2 ported over to the Nintendo Wii, then we got Pikmin 3, and it just seems like a smart idea to try to port Pikmin 3 over to the system for people to go out and enjoy. Hype up interest, get people interested in Pikmin 4, and continue on with the Pikmin franchise. The Pikmin franchise is one of those franchises I never did get into as a kid. It was one of those titles that I just couldn't wrap my head around, but I did get a chance to play that Pikmin 3 demo a while back ago, and it is something that I do want to play. And I feel like the Switch's portability would be a perfect platform to be able to play Pikmin 3. Next game on this list is Mario Maker. Mario Maker was perhaps what people hail as the Wii U's greatest game. I could make a few counter arguments to that. I don't think Mario Maker was the grand all, big all that people made it out to be. It was definitely fun. And I treat this game more like a party game, as getting people together, trying to beat through some of these levels. It is an absolute blaster just to create your levels. But the amount of detail that went into this game and what people were able to do, I feel like this is a needed port on the Nintendo Switch. I feel like this is one of those game consoles that people would just enjoy taking on the go and being able to build their levels, save them on the hard drive, and then upload them online so other people could play. It would be an absolute blast. It would be an absolute blast to play. Download the levels on your system and just play them on the go. Mario Maker is one of those games that Nintendo just needs to port over because the demand is definitely there for it. Next game I want to see ported over is Super Smash Bros. Wii U. There's a lot of people out there who wants to see this game ported over, and that is because Nintendo hasn't really made any mentions of Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo Switch, at least not yet. And the Wii U one has quite an interesting roster of characters. Mega Man, Bayonetta, Shulk, Cloud from Final Fantasy VII now. The roster of Super Smash Bros. Is continuously growing, and we are seeing more and more characters being ported over. I think Nintendo could benefit from making this port and giving us all the DLC, all the included characters, making a definitive edition, and slapping a $60 price on there. I think the amount of content that game has, and slapping that $60 cost on there, adding all that DLC, would make it a worthwhile adventure for Nintendo. It would also be a great way for people to get together and play this game and give this game really the chance that it deserved. Because this was another one of those titles that arguably was one of the Nintendo Wii U's best titles. So Nintendo, get on that, port this over, and make fans satisfied until you release Super Smash Bros. Switch. Or whatever they're going to call it. Next up on this list is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a beautiful looking game. The problem a lot of people seem to have with Xenoblade Chronicle X is it was too high capacity for the Nintendo Wii U. It suffered in terms of quality because it pushed the system to its limits. Much like its predecessor, Xenoblade Chronicles, it took that hardware limitation and maxed it out as high as it could go. And the game suffered from some frame rate issues, some other things among that, and it was one of those titles I feel like didn't reach out and captivate the audience that it should have. The music was praised, I've heard the story's really great, I've heard the characters were good, I've heard the world is fantastic, the exploration is amazing, the side quests are amazing, the amount of detail that goes into the game is amazing, and this is a series that is about due time to have a high definition HD port with a game system that you can put on there and go. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has provided that, but it does have that more anime-ish style, and that does kind of seem to have the fan base divided right now. There are a lot of people who like that style, there are a lot of people who hate that style. And there's no shame in having more Japanese RPGs over on the Nintendo Switch. No shame on having RPGs on the Nintendo Switch at all. This is also one of those great games. I feel like being able to go on the go, do a couple side quests maybe on your lunch, you're sitting in the doctor's office, you're on the bus, the train, what have you, do a couple of those, save your game, and then take it home, put it on your TV, blow it up, and watch the world in wonder. It's one of those games that definitely begs to have a port. The next game I want to see ported over was one of my personal favorite Wii U games. I absolutely loved this game. It was so full of charm, and this is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. This was one of those games that I was actually surprised at how well this game pulled off its mechanics. It was such a good game. The fact that Toad couldn't jump, the fact that you had to try and move around with puzzles and things like that to try to figure things out. You had to use strategy to kind of beat bosses and things like that. The fact that it switched between Toadette and Toad, kind of rescuing each other off and on from the bird that continuously kidnapped them, was a charming experience that was absolutely amazing. And it deserves a wider audience, a wider chance. It is a franchise that I want to see Nintendo continue with. I want to see this turned into a franchise. And I feel like establishing this on the Switch would be a perfect way to go about it. I also feel like the portability aspect could make it worthwhile, considering that you can go back and recollect things through the levels after you beat them, try new things. It would just kind of be a game that you could simply put 10 minutes into or 5 hours into. So, a great game for the Nintendo Switch to have. And last on this list, guys, is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD ports that had come onto the Nintendo Wii U. I know we have Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I know that we have A Link Between Worlds being ported over to the Nintendo Switch as well, so why not just bring over Wind Waker and Twilight Princess? You arguably have two of the best Nintendo Legend of Zelda games that have come out in recent years, and both are magnificent titles. Wind Waker was a title that I didn't exactly respect when I had first initially played it. The 13-year-old me just was not a fan of it, but it was definitely one of those titles that I started to gain more of a respect as I grew older. And it is one of those titles I have found myself wanting to go back and play over and over. I also feel like its graphics and its aesthetics have aged very well. That art style was something that was heavily criticized back then, but it has aged so well and made an amazing experience. Twilight Princess was definitely a darker entry in the franchise. It had a great story, some great concepts, some great mechanics, and I feel like both of these titles would just make wonderful Switch ports because they were fun on the Wii U, they were fun on their original systems, and they would be fun to take on the go. And that just kind of concludes my Wii U games that I would like to see ported over to the Nintendo Switch. I want to hear what you guys want to see ported over to the Nintendo Switch. What titles do you think deserve a second breath of life on the Nintendo Switch that may have got pushed under the radar on the Wii U? Leave those down below in the comment box. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what some of the ports that I missed, because I know there's some out there, and I know there's titles out there that do deserve ports, so let me know. Be sure to hit subscribe there for me to keep updated with all of my content, so you can check out my latest videos. You can always follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Links are going to be down below in that description box. And most importantly, guys, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoony Bard is checking out.